Okay, Abusuyeba Bebrekin Waha Edemama say President Mahama appointed a acting Chief Justice I friend Paul Baffoe as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Sisi ano Paul Baffoe ono and a President Mahama choosing as Chief Justice of Supreme Court. Na abusuya anso former president ayefre no John Addo Kuffour waba ababe endorses appointments no wabake President Mahama with massive support. I would say Paul Baffoe no o deserve o hwe papa ni profile modu and president former president ayefre no John Addo Kuffour ono NHS edene ba court wa o say papa no bibia o deserve say yedene ye chief justice no into no president Mahama enka na command ne yam asisi ano former president Kuffour endorse appointment of Paul Baffoe as chief justice of the Supreme Court. Into no abusuya bibia edida na kwam NPP for na krampo no omo ye massive endorsement ede ama Paul Baffoe asisiano enkekawa bia eni homomi enko na yenkonkuti ensem bia ekoso subscribe like and share ma afofron so ensa into me enka and don't forget to click on the notification bell so na be any updates we ever drop bia no onso onsa ebetumi account no former president John Addo Kuffour endorsed the appointment of Paul Baffoe as Supreme Court Chief Justice. Yedamase.
441 of the 1922 Constitution. I'm going to show you portions of the letter that was issued and signed by the Minister in charge of Government Communications, Felix Kwachofosu. But this statement issued earlier today named Justice Baffoe as the nominee for the substantive position of the Chief Justice. He's been acting for quite a while now. Throughout his distinguished judicial career, served with diligence and integrity at the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and currently the Supreme Court. Now, he has made invaluable contributions to the development of jurisprudence in Ghana and essentially the justice delivery system in this country. Reference has been made to a number of his cases that he also sat on and also participated. His reasoning and ruling on very crucial matters in this country, including the election petitions regarding the 2012 elections petition and the position that he took. In fact, that's one that as well has been referenced, especially because of the numbers game and that particular decision that was taken by the Supreme Court at the time. Now, this is what was contained in the letter that was issued by the presidency earlier today, giving details of his nomination. Now, based on what we do know, so far, there has been some reactions to this particular nomination and the decision that has been taken by the president and what is happening right now. And shortly, we will be connecting with Martin Kpebu, who's private legal practitioner, and we would get a bit more reactions to this here on Ghana Tonight. We'll give some more updates on this. And Justice Baffoe has, throughout his distinguished judicial career, served with diligence and integrity at the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and currently the Supreme Court. And he, according to the statement earlier today, has made invaluable contributions to the development of the Ghanaian jurisprudence. He has earned the esteem of the bench, the bar, and the wider legal fraternity for his intellect, impartiality, and unwavering commitment to justice. His wealth of experience and long service on the bench renders him eminently qualified for the High Court, for the High Office of Justice that's the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. His Lordship has been serving as Acting Chief Justice since the 22nd of April 2025, as I indicated earlier. And this is essentially the details of the statement that was issued by Felix Kwachofosu, giving details of the consideration on what exactly led to the nomination of His Lordship Justice Paul Baffoe as the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. Article 1441 spells out the full details of how the process will play out right from now, and we'll get into it shortly. But let's go on to Zoom now. Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner. He's joining us right now. Counsel, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. You're one of quite a number of persons who stuck out their neck to advocate and in fact appeal to the president to confirm Justice Paul Baffoe as the substantive Chief Justice after having acted since April till now. What exactly informed that conviction that you have? Because now he's been nominated for that position as substantive Chief Justice. Okay.
A number of reasons. One, you look at the seniority. You see that one of the issues, even though it's not part of the petitions, one of the issues with the appointment of Justice Tokonu was that she had a lot of seniors, you see, ahead of her, the Supreme Court. And all of these were bypassed and she was appointed. Like, is that Joseph in the Bible, right? She was down in terms of seniority. Like the way Joseph was very young, yes, but yet Joseph was anointed, right? So this one, you could see that appointment per se wasn't a problem, but subsequently, in relationships on the bench there, you could see there were cracks. You can ask Professor Kweku Asari, he's written about it. You can see there were cracks in terms of, when seniors are around, they've been bypassed and the position is given to a junior person. There's a way you have to manage the seniors. That management wasn't forthcoming. Right. Now, so I'm hoping that with Baffoe being the senior most, at least he's done more years on the Supreme Court bench, so that experience will reflect on how he would manage his colleagues. Yes, though he's Chief Justice, but the other justices are also Supreme Court justices. So we'll hope that the management will be better. Yes, that's one of the key things. Then number two, you see that Justice Baffoe is a Kuffour appointee. That's to say he was appointed to the Supreme Court by President Kuffour, right? Yes, but if you look at his CV, it was President Rawlings who appointed him to the High Court in the year 2000 or so. Yes, and then President Kuffour took him to the Court of Appeal in 2006. And then in 2008, about a year and a half, then President Kuffour further took him to the Supreme Court. So the point is that when you are analyzing, you would think that because he was appointed by President Kuffour, then he subscribes to the ideologies and the philosophies of the MPP. That's how on paper it's supposed to look like. But now that circumstances have brought us to this level and President Mahama has appointed Baffoe, it's a huge leap in our march for, people, independent persons to be appointed to very high public offices. You see, I say independent because, as I said, from Baffoe's appointment by President Kuffour to the Court of Appeal and Supreme Court, you can't totally eliminate an argument that he subscribes to the MPP's philosophies and ideology. You can't, because look, from the way the appointments are done, the presidents don't just go around choosing very independent lawyers or judges who don't share anything in common with them. No, the more you share in common with the president, then the easier it will be for him to appoint you. And they hope that because you share the same philosophies and ideologies, if there's anything going wrong with the philosophies and ideologies that are being implemented and it comes to court, because you subscribe, it will be easier for you to understand the Attorney General than somebody who doesn't subscribe to the philosophies and ideologies of the ruling party. I mean, it's as plain as that. Okay, so for President Mahama to overlook all of this, because remember that President Mahama has an appointee on the Supreme Court bench. That's Justice Scott Puaman, right? Yet President Mahama didn't say, no, 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 let me go and give it to my appointee. President Mahama says, no, let it go to the senior most. It doesn't matter that he was appointed by, what do you call it? President Kuffour. Then also, I'm also more excited because don't forget that that's my third reason. Justice Baffoe has been punished and punished over and over by President Akufo-Addo because in the election 2012 petition, Baffoe, even though he was a Kuffour appointee, voted for President Mahama on the critical issue of whether, without the signature of a presiding officer, the votes could be counted. I mean, that's taken into consideration, for those polling stations, etc., where the presiding officer didn't sign. And that was critical, extremely critical. On that vote, it was by 5-4. So President Mahama won it by a slim majority, 5 in favor, 4 against. And by some of the calculations, they were hoping that because Baffoe is a Kuffour appointee, meaning that he subscribes to the MPP ideologies and philosophies, he would vote for Akufo-Addo, but it didn't turn out that way. And so when Akufo-Addo came into office, oh yeah, he really ostracized Baffoe. Baffoe was hounded left, right, center. Baffoe was hounded left, right, center. They told him to resign, get out of that office, give me the seat. Give me the seat, get out, you know. But somehow he survived it. And
Right.
see, today, he's on his way to becoming substantive Chief Justice. So these are 3 reasons that make his appointment very exciting. So at least by voting for President Mahama, even though he was a Kuffour appointee during the election 2012 petition, Baffoe had shown that independence of judgment, that independence that we are always clamoring for in public office. That
Right.
look, the fact that a president has appointed you to a certain office doesn't mean that you should just roll over and let him have his way. No, exercise some independence, exercise some, you know, independence to make yourself
in judgment, indeed. But you see, there are 3 reasons that you outlined, which underlines your conviction about the advocacy to have him confirmed or appointed as a substantive Chief Justice. It is the nomination now. It's going to go through the process, as we do know, as enshrined in Article 1441 of the 1992 Constitution. But then one of the 3 reasons that you referenced is very critical: the seniority at the bench. It's a very crucial issue for you. Even at the bar, seniority is a big deal for you, right? You know, when it comes to matters of appointment, and even when you are referencing each other, you value the seniority at the bench and at the bar. So if that was the case, why was he, I'm talking about Justice Paul Baffoe, bypassed in previous instances when there was the need to appoint a Chief Justice?
Good. You see, earlier on, I made a point that usually presidents don't tend to appoint people to the Supreme Court if those persons have a very strong track record of independence of judgment. That no, I'm not doing things on party lines or for parochial reasons. Once a person is showing that he's doing it for the national interest and is not doing the bidding of the person who appointed him or her, usually he's not a good candidate for these offices because they expect a certain degree of loyalty. Even President Kuffour once said it on national television when he was swearing in some Supreme Court justices. He said, yes, we've given you these positions. You should look for our interests when cases concerning this government come before you. It was, we can pull the tape. You see him say it expressly. It's not in innuendos or, some hidden codes, etc. Very express, right? So with this kind of situation, this kind of track record, the point is very clear that for this kind of appointments, you would usually want a high degree of commonalities, a high degree of confluence that the justices and then the ruling government have a lot in common so that it will be easier to work together.
Right.
Right.
But indeed, but then with the commendation that you give to the president for nominating Justice Paul Baffoe, his lordship, to this position of the substantive Chief Justice, you commend the president for doing that because you say this is a man who has exhibited some level of independence in thought. You commend Justice Paul Baffoe for that independence in thought and indeed in the previous instances that you referenced. But then again, you still are of the position that the power to appoint a Chief Justice should be taken away from the president during this period of the constitutional review. That is one issue that you want addressed. That power to appoint a Chief Justice should not remain with the president, even with these commendations that you give. Counsel?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Why is that?
Amending Article 144, Clause 1, and other parts of Article 144 of the Constitution 1992 is something that the plurality or majority of Ghanaians have agreed. You know, that debate has been going on for decades, and right now it's clear that we generally agree that that power should be taken away. H. Kwesi Prempeh, who is chairman of the Constitutional Review Committee, also agrees. You know, he helped the Kenyans to draft their current constitution, where in Kenya, no, it's not just the president's power. The vacancies are announced, people are apply. Then there's a vetting on air. Vetting is telecast live so that there's an independent panel that will score the applicants, etc. And it's done for everybody to see. So at the end of the day, the best is chosen. And then the appointment process goes on. So you see that H. Kwesi Prempeh, having helped the Kenyans to develop such a far more independent procedure, is more likely to do the same for us. Otherwise, if he doesn't have at least what he helped the Kenyans to do in his report, that would be grounds for us to reject the report, because it will be like, Massa, you did something for the Kenyans, and then when it came to Ghana, you want us to stay in this lopsided constitution, this constitution that is a huge stumbling block to our development. No. So generally, if you gauge the way we've had the debates over all these decades, we are ready to take away the power from the president.
I don't. Lawyer appreciate you for this, and thank you. If you can kindly stay with me, and we're going to the next matter. But then again, just a brief profile of the man we're talking about, the nominated Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, is also Paul Baffoe. We're going to put just a brief of his profile on the screen. Born December 26, 1956. He has had a distinguished career serving in various capacities across Ghana's judicial system, culminating his appointment as the Justice of the Supreme Court of Ghana 17 years ago. This was sometime in 2008. The position is held till this moment. So if you hear Lawyer Matikpebu reference that the former President John Kuffour appointed him, yes, that's the case. Sometime in 2008, for the past 17 years, he has been serving as a Justice of the Supreme Court. Previously served as a Justice of the Court of Appeal and a High Court and a Circuit Court judge before joining the bench in 1992. He worked as a Principal Inspector of Taxes and Head of Legal, Eastern and Volta regions of the Internal Revenue Service, now the Ghana Revenue Authority, as IRS. Before then also a Deputy Superintendent of Prisons, Head of Legal at the Prison Service Headquarters, graduate of the University of Ghana in the Ghana School of Law. Justice Paul Baffoe had a secondary education at Konongo Dumase Secondary School, where he obtained O and A level certificates. And currently he chairs the Disciplinary Committee of the General Legal Council, the Election Management Committee of the Judicial Service, and the Finance Committee of the Judicial Service as well. Now, this is a man that many who followed his work has a lot up his sleeve when it comes to the contribution to our the development of our justice delivery system in this country. That's the man we're talking about. We'll see how the process plays out in the coming days regarding Article 1441 of the 1992 Constitution, now that he has been nominated for that substantive position of the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. Let's stay on the matters of law still. This time around, that's coming up next.
Okay, I was winning and some also our political highway. So, former President John Kuffour, ono NHS a day Paul Baffoe Edine Bar a Supreme Court on a CCano, why endorsing a BBR Edidana Kwame, but I must some Pentecost could see, sir, in some way, Edimaya. Aha, Ghana politics avenue, so, but I must say.